WAN. This is Monday, week 14. We talked about data and how we convert data into information. Data, we talk about the security of it when it's stored in transit or while it's being processed. What security things are we concerned about? The integrity, the quality of the data, if it's accurate, confidentiality, who sees the data and for what purposes, and we have to make the data available, obviously for people to do their jobs and so forth. So we have three major things in security. These three, where the data is at, and then who and how are we going to secure it. We have people, we have procedures and products, and then we set policy and guidelines. Based on the policy, we have procedures in order to secure the data. Okay? And then we reviewed briefly, we have a threat, we have somebody or something can carry out the threat, how vulnerable are we to the threat, and then we decide our risk. Do we want to mitigate, just leave it, ignore the threat, or transfer the responsibility? We looked at routers and how we can secure routers. And we talked a little bit about that today. You know, the different ways we access the router. And we talked about local database, who accesses it, how they access. We talked about AAA a little bit. We talked about encryption. And we got a good start on the lab, but we still have a long ways to go on the first lab. So we'll finish that first lab on Wednesday, and we'll look at the challenge lab on Wednesday. I'll have that set up to do in some groups, and then we'll also talk a little bit on Wednesday. We'll talk about teleworkers and the information on that. And that's it for today. This is Networking 201 LAN WANs. This is Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. They had a troubleshooting lab. These were 10 networks here, and they went through and solved that. We added a WAN component, so this wouldn't be in the lab. The 210, so forth, and then a loop back out there, 220 on the router. These routers are still configured, and this would be DEV21, DEV22, DEV23. We talked a little bit about reflexive, so we did an example here of that, talking about we got an extended access list. You couldn't use actually the name out, it won't let you use the name out, so that we would actually have to change out. Maybe call that PC out, because out's used in access list. And then we permit this network as an example. It doesn't have anything to do with the one on the top. That mask going anywhere is will reflect in. Then we can create an access list called come in, and that would evaluate in. So we talked about how reflexive works, and I'm not going to repeat all that right here. So we start security on Monday. So that's it. LAN WAN. Today we did ACLs. We did the pre-assessment, and they did the first lab. We got it completed. We talked a little bit about privilege levels, that idea of levels up through 15. We talked about you can configure levels 2 through actually 14, I say 15, and then you can use that local username to access. That's in the security part, which we'll cover next week. They did the lab. It looks something like this, and they completed it using a variety of access lists. Our next step then, they will do packet tracer labs for Wednesday. So we'll do packet tracer labs for Wednesday, and also on Wednesday they'll have that done for class on Wednesday, and then on Wednesday we can do some troubleshooting labs with access list. And then the second half of the class on Wednesday, take the access list final assessment and maybe get started a little bit on security. And that's it. This is week 12. We did not get to ACLs today. We're going to skip over the security. We worked on frame relay. We took the frame relay pre-assessment. We did a CCNP frame relay lab. This one was working with these particular configurations. These were the devices that you could access remotely, and they had a handout for that. And we're going to finish up frame relay on Wednesday. We're just a little behind, and we do a lot with access list on Wednesday. And that's it for today. LAN WAN, this LAN WAN, this is the 9th November, week 11. This is Wednesday. We're not meeting on Friday. Talked a little bit more about server level agreement. We talked about frame relay. We compared it. They did a nice job today. We compared it to doing a VPN over the internet compared to setting up frame relay. And we talked about like Mason City being the main site and connecting to, we use an example of Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, and creating our PVCs through there. We talked briefly about link management interface. We talked about frame relay maps. And today we actually used, we did a frame relay with using a router for a frame relay switch. And we use these two routers here, and we had frame relay going between those devices. All right, that's it.